in head compared to you. You're like so far away and so skinny. I'm just right here, like, hey.
I'll get up in there for you. I mean,
Oh yeah, I bet you
admire
will.
my mullet. Oh,
Whoa.
shut up! I miss that
Is
so
that
much.
yeah? Don't you have a boyfriend now?
No, I broke up with him.
Oh, oh no.
There was some
Already?
red flags.
Wonk,
There was some
wonk.
red flags. It's cool.
Yeah. That's the best thing to do with red flags, man. Just
Red,
throw them on out.
red flags make everything interesting.
Well, the point of dating people is to figure out whether you want to spend more time with them or not.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
was like, I don't.
Yeah.
All right, everything looks great on Twitch. So, are you guys ready to do this? Oh yeah, we're doing podcasts, right? Top 5 podcasts.
Yep.
Hold on just a second.
Oh no. So unprepared. Top 5 most unprepared guests.
Okay, all right.
Somebody's got Facebook on.
Must be Patty's phone.
Let me turn my laptop off. There we go.
Because fucking goddamn Krangus picked right
Yeah.
now to start messaging that group chat. Right
He's
fucking
at
now.
7.
Oh boy. All right. Well, I'm good to go. What about you guys?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right.
Yeah.
Here we go. In 3, 2, 1. It is the Open Micers Podcast, and I am Jason Robbins.
I'm Jacob Craig.
And we have a guest.
And I'm Patty Dwyer.
Yes, Patty Dwyer's in
Oh.
the house.
She needs no introduction.
None.
She's got this shit, guys.
Yes, she does.
I just jumped right in.
So let's jump right into it. Patty, thank you for joining us.
I'm really happy to be here, you guys. I miss y'all.
I miss both of you.
I
haven't
miss you
seen
too, Patty.
either of you
I
in
know you
person in how long? Like since February?
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
It was
The last,
it was right before. It was like a week before my birthday, so it was like March 10th or somewhere right before that.
Well, that's when we saw each other because you were at that last show I did, and
Yep.
that's the last time I saw anybody. But Jason wasn't
Oh, at
there.
the Love Shack.
No,
No, at the juke joint that Friday.
Oh yeah.
Oh, for Krangus when he's out. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think I did see Jason the day before, so like same time, pretty much.
Yeah, I was at the
Well,
last
lucky
Love
you,
Shack
Jacob.
show, and that was the last time I saw both of you guys. It was at the Love Shack.
Actually, no. Actually, I saw Jason at Walmart.
Oh yeah,
And
I
it's
forgot.
funny because it's like one of those things, where they do the censorship bars across the eyes, and then that's enough. Like really, all I needed to see was his eyes, and I immediately knew who it was. I was like, "Hey, bro, what's up?"
Yeah, I was wearing my
I didn't even need
mask.
to look at his nerdy shirt or anything. I just knew it was him.
Yeah, that
So,
was
like,
about a week or so into the pandemic, and I was wearing my mask because I had to go grocery shopping.
Yeah, you look cool.
Yeah. And what's the protocol for that when you see someone you know while you're grocery shopping now? Because we're wearing masks and shit. But if I see either one of you guys while I'm shopping, I'm gonna hug you because I know
We
you.
were just kind of like, hey.
Yeah, it was a
And I was working. I was buying fruit for work, so I was like really on the clock. So I just like kept going,
Because that's the thing.
Yeah.
because I'm essential.
I'm a hugger. I like to hug people that I know, and we saw each other, and I was just like, "Did we touch?" Or
It was
no?
weird.
It was awkward. We
Yeah.
were both just like, I don't know what to do.
Because I won't
I'll
lie,
tell you what, man.
I've been hugging all kinds of people the whole time, honestly.
Yeah.
bad.
Random people too. Just
I
random
know.
people at the grocery store.
Rampage has
Yeah.
joined
You're
us in the chat
dangerous.
room. Hi, Rampage. Glad you could join us this evening.
Rampage. Our number one fan,
Yes.
Mr. Rampage, helping us with
Oh,
the
no
technical difficulties.
So Patty, let's get into it. What you are a very very funny person, and when you do comedy, it seems like you've been doing it for years. So, how long have you been doing comedy, and what kind of made you want to do it?
I'm super flattered that you say that because I'm like a total noob, and I know that. I think I started in November, maybe. Um, what it was just I've always been creative. I've always written. I've always written short stories and poetry ever since I was a kid, like almost compulsively. I think just to deal with things. And I actually went to school for journalism, and my journalism professor was like, "You're not a journalist. We have a master's program in creative writing. You should do." And I was like, "Well, what the fuck am I gonna do with that?" You know? So I just left. But I finally got to a place in my life where like I had my shit together, and I actually had the like mental energy and space to like get to be creative again. And it's something I'd always thought about doing. And my friend Katya, she had done some comedy in Hattiesburg, and we talked about doing it. And I just decided it was the time to like push my boundaries and get out of my comfort zone and try something. And apparently I'm good at it. So it's brought me so much joy, like I can't even explain to you. And the community as well, because the support you get from other people, we all just want to have a good time. And it really is, it's an amazing experience. It really is about the journey for me, not the destination.
Yeah.
Like, no matter what happens, like I wouldn't want to do anything else. This is just, it's so fun to me.
Honestly, I think that's been the hardest part for me over the last 2 months through all of this is just I like the not only getting up on stage and making not only just people laugh, but if I actually get more joy out of making the comedians laugh because I know if they're
Yeah.
laughing and nobody else is laughing, but if Jacob's like on the floor in the back of the room, I know I'm hitting on something. It's like I don't know, it's a
I
weird
love
thing.
Jacob's big laugh. Yeah, definitely.
And that's
Yeah,
the
like
biggest thing
you're gonna know if I'm in the room. I sound like a squeaky radiator.
I
It's awesome.
I miss the camaraderie. I miss like hanging out, talking about and refining jokes the way we all just kind of hang around and just like, hey, you should say this, you should do that, like helping each other out and like just hanging out, having a good time. Like, God, I miss it so much, and I just cannot wait to get back on stage with you guys again.
Yeah, it's like the best part of an open mic isn't even the open mic. Like
Yeah,
it's the back patio afterwards
yeah,
where everyone's,
Before and
chain
after.
smoking. Yeah, before and after. Well, before it's always kind of awkward for me because I'm always nervous every single time I perform, no matter what, because I'm a perfectionist and I'm like I really want this to go well. And so afterwards, I'm just letting loose, talking to my friends. We're all hanging out. Everybody's chain smoking. I got a whole gallon of Diet Coke. It's fucking. I miss it, man.
Literally.
yeah.
Yeah.
Literally, yeah.
Your mom's back there passing out smokes like a like a like the
Yeah, I was
bad
gonna
kid
say,
at lunch.
I'm like, I need to get back out there with you guys, and I need you to give me a bite of your sandwich, Jacob, and I need your mom to give me cigarettes, and then things will be back to normal.
I gave you like half of that fucking sandwich. I
You
told you I'd
did.
give
You
you a
let me have
bite.
like 3 or 4 bites. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, like there was a point in time, like my mom comes with me to every show,
Mhm.
and there was a point where everyone had agreed to throw in a little bit of money every week for my mom to buy cigarettes because everyone just bummed like 10 cigarettes a night off of her. It
But we
is
never did, right? I mean,
no, that's
I
when
was like, I'll buy you
coronavirus
a pack.
happened.
Yeah, we had yet
Yeah,
to
I started
implement that.
buying my own though.
We had yet to implement that plan before the pandemic hit.
yeah.
We'll get her a bucket.
Yeah.
Get her a bucket.
Yeah,
We
throw
should
your
just
change in there.
we should pass around like a like the church plate during our stand-up
Yeah.
sets for your mom, just like Jacob's mom's cigarette fund. Like just everybody
Or
throw in a couple bucks.
or even better, everyone just throw in a cigarette.
Yeah.
There
Just
you
throw
go.
in a cigarette into the collection plate.
Anyone
But
who can give one.
Patty, the way you started comedy though is really the right way to do it because I had noticed you in the bars at the open mics and everything before I ever even knew that you had thought about going up. You had just come as a fan to watch and laugh, and you hung out with us on the back patio and was talking to us and stuff. And I was like, well, I don't know who this is, but I guess, we'll make friends or whatever. And then you actually
Mm.
started doing comedy after you were watching it. And in my opinion, you were much better than most of the people who just decide, I want to go to the open mic. I'm going to go on stage. I'm going to do this because you had thought it out.
I did, because like you, I'm very much a perfectionist, which can also be a flaw, it'll stop you from doing things. But I'm also like, I'm super observant and like very socially like aware. So I just like kind of sit back and pay attention for a while, and I kind of like see what other people do. And I did watch for a while, and you guys were good, but I also like it kind of like gave me the confidence. I was like, and talking to you guys, I was like, these are just regular people, and like I can say some stuff that's funnier than maybe some of those people, up there already. I was like, I can probably do that. So, but Jimmy James is actually the first one who like was like, hey, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, I'm just watching, but maybe, like I kind of want to do it. And he's like, oh yeah, no, you totally should. That'd be awesome. The more the merrier. Um, so, but little did he know that I was gonna be a badass at it. But I'm just gonna keep doing it. I'm super passionate about it.
So have you been
I love to
writing?
make people laugh.
Have you been writing through the pandemic?
I haven't like written anything like cohesive, but I'm always taking notes. Like I haven't stopped taking notes since the first time I've been on stage. And honestly, I've been a sad person a lot in my life, but
Hmm.
I think that since the first time I went on stage, I've been manic. Like for like 4 months just off of that. It's uh
Okay.
it's uh it's super exhilarating.
The only thing I've done really is just kind of I haven't really sat down and do any writing. I really just have been just like writing down little ideas, like putting them in my my notes app on the phone. Like something will hit me, and I just kind of write down like shorthand to just remember it.
Hmm.
Refresh my memory. So I got a lot of little ideas that I want to try out. We do have the open mic is coming back June what 2nd, I think
Yeah,
next
Tuesday, June 2nd
Hmm.
and
at the juke joint.
yeah, at the juke joint. So I've got a few ideas I want to bring up at the show. They're probably not going to be funny, but we'll see. At least I'll try to make them funny. But it's like I said, it's really more just kind of like because there's no life happening. There's not, and I don't want to
Yeah,
do
like
like
everybo's gonna make a joke about the corona,
yeah.
and I'm like, I don't want to do that.
I don't either. I don't want to be that comedian. It's just like, hey, like just making pandemic jokes. I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to do that
Yeah.
because it's just, it's too
Well,
easy.
for me, it's like I have like decades of codependence under my belt, so I can always make relationship jokes
Yeah.
like forever. So
Yeah, it's really hard to not write coronavirus jokes though, because I've been
it's
writing a
relevant.
lot. Yeah, well, like that's our life right now. And when you write something, it's an observation of what your life is right now. So, like, I wrote a couple of bits about coronavirus, but they're not very heavy on that. Like, I wrote them to where I can rewrite it later once this isn't relevant anymore.
Yeah.
But
Also, you just don't want to do something that's too easy to where someone's gonna make a meme about it before you even get on stage and say it.
yeah, or you'll show up with the same joke as some other like 5 minute open micer, and you're like, oh, it was right there the
Yeah,
whole time.
Yeah.
It was just right there. But
yeah.
this whole time, I don't know, whenever I'm not productive, I feel really bad about myself. So I've been trying to work on my first hour of material, like my first special
Nice.
worthy hour. And I think I'm almost there. Uh, After I get a couple more bits written, I think I'll pretty much have it.
Dude,
That's awesome, man.
I got so bummed out the other day because on my timeline, well, my events on Facebook, I think it was Saturday night, this past Saturday, was supposed to be my first professional opening gig where I was going to do a 25-minute set opening up for Brent Terhune. and it didn't. Of course, it didn't happen because of the pandemic and the Wayward Kraken shut down. So then the event
That's
popped
sad.
up Saturday morning. It was like, reminder, you have an event coming up, and I just sat there like, fuck, man, stupid
Yeah.
I
virus.
feel for you, man. That sucks.
Yeah, I'll get another
Yeah, which I
one,
mean,
though.
yeah, we're gonna try to. You said you messaged that guy, right?
Yeah, we're actually. He said that he's going to be towards the end of the year. He's going to be back on the road again, and he'll be coming back through this way. So I told him me and you were going to set up a show somewhere.
Yeah. Luckily, I worked up to the point where I can kind of just try to get a show at any bar.
Yeah.
Just fucking any bar,
Yeah.
bar that'll want that guy. We can do a show there, man.
Yeah.
All right,
But
is the Love Shack a no-go after this?
I don't know, man. That's for those of you who don't know, that's the open mic that I hosted before all this, and it was hard because the week that the shit hit the fan, like the week that everyone was like, okay, we're not going out anymore.
Yeah.
I messaged one of the owners of the Love Shack, and I was like, hey, are we doing this? Because I mean, if you're not gonna give me the go ahead, then I'm just gonna say I'm not doing it because I don't think anyone's gonna come anyways. And it seems pretty cut and dry right now, but back like when it was first happening, it was like, well, can we still do a show?
Mhm.
Everything was
And
maybe, yeah.
yeah, and
And you had just
I
bought
didn't
that PA too, like the week
I just-
before.
I dropped fucking $300 on equipment, dude. $150 PA, $100 mic, and a $50 PA stand. And I got to use it like twice. But I talked to him and everything, and the day before, I still didn't hear back from him. Like the entire time I hosted this gig, I loved it. I never had to ask for my check. They handed it to me right away after I was done. But that was the staff that did that, and the owners didn't really talk to me or anything. And so the day before, I was like, look, I haven't heard back from you. I just gotta let you know that we're not gonna do a show tomorrow. And so let me know when you guys start doing entertainment again, and we'll get the show back running. So I was like, even if I message them, I'm not gonna hear back from them.
Yeah. Still one of the best places to do an open mic, though. I mean, good Lord, it was packed every time we did it.
Every
It
single
was
time,
really
dude.
good, yeah.
It
Those-
stressed me the fuck out because I spent the entire week promoting to try to get people in there, and thank God it worked.
That's the thing. Like, the people that were there for comedy. Like, they were there
That's
for
true.
the show. And as much as I
Yeah, we were
love-
already getting a lot of regulars on that.
Yeah, and as much as
Yeah.
I love the Kraken, it was really, it was a nerd bar, and people were there to play games. So you're constantly fighting back and forth between people that are playing board games and people that are there to watch comedy. And it was always kind of like, we should just make Mondays like strictly comedy and, save the board game for other nights. But, I understood that, he needs to make money. I understand
Yeah.
that. But, the Love Shack, it was
I
like
mean-
every single person was there to see comedy.
Yeah, because there's just nothing else going on. It's
Yeah.
like if you're not there for comedy, then you're there to drink.
Yeah.
Well, guess what you can do while you're drinking, buddy? Is watch the comedy.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
think that was more of a respect thing at the Kraken because I hosted a show there, and there were people playing board games when the comedians were on stage, and I asked them the nicest I could possibly ask anybody to do anything to please just keep it down a little bit, and they flipped off a comedian I had brought in from Birmingham who did the show absolutely for free. They just straight up flipped him the bird for like
Hold on, was that
No
like
fucking
Warhammer
reason.
night?
yeah, and which was already which was supposed to be over before the show started.
Yeah.
I remember
And I'm
that,
like-
yeah.
So you guys that are doing all that are just disrespectful.
I
I
was-
understand now.
I was basically shouting my my set at them that night. It was like, "Oh, you're gonna
Yeah.
be loud. I'm gonna be louder."
I hosted and I headlined, so I was the only fucker who actually got listened to, and I felt really bad about that. Like I was the only one who anyone got to listen to because they left by my set.
Oh, that's okay.
Damn.
You're gonna have
Savages.
You're always gonna have a bad night here and there. There's no such thing as a perfect night every night.
Bro, you're gonna have like 70-30 in terms of bad nights. 70 bad nights to 30 good nights.
Dude,
Are
nothing.
you talking about open mic or just or hosting?
Oh, hosting's 100% bad all the time. Your job's to make the open micers look good, and then you get the check at the end of it. Like, there's a reason only the host is getting paid, because he's the one getting shit all over.
Dude, nothing will be worse than our trip to Panama City.
Panama City, dude.
That was...
We've talked about this on a podcast before, too.
Yeah. Ooh, that was bad.
It was the worst. I headlined an 8-minute set. I was supposed to do 30, and some bitch was like, hey, bring the other guy back on stage.
Yeah.
And I said, okay.
There was a fight broke out about a minute into the host, like, you know, starting the show, 30 seconds into the show.
Too soon.
A fight breaks out in the crowd. At the end, everything fell apart to the point where there was a drum set on stage. So I just got on stage and did like a 5-minute drum solo.
And that's what everyone liked the most about the night, was the drum solo.
Apparently, it's the best thing you could have done.
But the pizza was good.
Apparently.
The pizza was
good. Made me shit myself.
Yeah, it was greasy. That
Like,
was
you don't do that on the regular anyway.
Talking about 70-30.
I mean, yeah.
That pizza was 70% grease, 30% pizza.
Yeah.
So, Patty. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you can go. You can go ahead.
I was going to say, I was going to go ahead and go into talking about our top 5 for tonight.
Let's go for it, man.
So,
Age before beauty.
Okay.
We usually like to do...
Before I start, I do have like an honorable mention, because the last 2 episodes of Open Micers, you guys talked about The Office.
Oh, yeah.
And you brought up that Scrubs show where they talk about the show. Well, there's Office Ladies with Jenna and Angela, and they talk about each episode in detail and what's like going on in the background and stuff. And I know Wally just watched The Office for the first time, and he might really dig that one. So
I might
it's pretty
like
good.
that too. I'm going. Yeah. What's the name of it? The Office Ladies.
Office Ladies.
Okay, I'm gonna add that to the list.
Yeah.
So what we do here, what we do here on the show is, for our guests, we always do a top 5 something or other. And tonight we're going to do top 5 podcasts, favorite podcasts, because Patty is a avid podcast listener along with myself. And not sure about Jacob. I think he just listens to himself cry all the time. And,
yeah. I only watch this podcast.
Yeah. So usually we like to start with our guest. So Patty, what is your number 5 favorite podcast?
Okay, number 5. It's not something like crazy amazing, but it's something I listen to almost every day. It's called Sleep With Me, and it's not what it sounds like. It's
Sure.
It's the dude is Dearest Scooter, and he does a bedtime story every night, and he basically talks and like goes on tangents and speaks about really boring things. And eventually, like, your brain gets confused and you just fall asleep. And it seems really weird, like, the first couple times you listen to it, but it's sort of super ingenious and it works. That's a cute-ass cat, Jason.
Thank you. He wanted to be part of the show. He was crawling on me. So, Jacob, what is your number 5 favorite podcast?
Yes, my number 5. Before I get into it, Patty, I forgot that you were like one of our original listeners, by the way. You were a fan of this show since day one.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for that.
It's good. It's been good.
And you saw the train wreck that was the original episode 1.
Yeah.
I should have been asleep, but yeah, I was watching it live.
Yeah, episode 0.5.
We apologize for that.
Yeah, but my number 5 is more of a shout out because it's a local podcast. But my number 5 is Twitter Sitters, it's Twitter Sitters, like the app, and babysitters, and it's hosted by Ryan Adams and Bill Goodman. Ryan Adams, who me and you did that show in Panama with, who was hosted, and Bill Goodman, who me and Patty know. He came to the Juke and he interviewed or filmed some of me and you for his
Oh
documentary.
yeah.
He's making a documentary about stand-up comedy.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that was the Valentine's
Yeah,
Day show. Yeah, I remember that.
it was. Yeah, and yeah, I mean Ryan's one of my best friends. I love that guy to death. But it's really funny content. Like you could tell that they're best friends. They just banter back and forth. It's basically just a look into their friendship, and it's one of the
Oh,
only podcasts I can actually listen to and laugh. So yeah, I really like Twitter Sitters.
Yeah.
that sounds precious.
For my number 5, I actually do you guys know who Penn Jillette is from Penn and Teller?
Yep.
He has a podcast called Penn Sunday School, and it's basically just him talking to. He's got a couple of other Vegas magicians, lesser known magicians that do the show with him, and it's basically just him once a week, sometimes twice a week, where he just talks about anything and everything, different things that are happening in his life, and behind the scenes stuff for Penn and Teller, those type of things. So if you're interested in listening to a really cool kind of getting to know his personality and like behind the scenes stuff of the Penn and Teller show and Fool Us, the TV show that they do, give that a listen. It's called Penn Sunday School.
Oh, Fool Us. That is a good show. Yeah, I enjoyed that.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
I've
Did you
always
know
liked
that?
magic.
So Patty,
Did you know that that Penn Jillette was actually the voice of Comedy Central in the
Yes.
'90s?
Yeah, he talks about that a
Really?
lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I don't pay enough attention.
Yeah, he's done a
But
lot
honestly,
of voiceover.
I'll tell you guys, I used to watch Chris Angel a lot when I was younger.
You look a little bit like Chris Angel.
Thank you. 14-year-old me would be so flattered.
Yeah.
So emo. So Patty, what's your number 4?
All right, I'm super into true crime, and like one of the ones that I really like is Crimes of Passion. And it's basically, lovers, friends, family, and details and psychological analysis about how this went down and why there's someone murdered now, basically. And they've done some really good episodes on some like famous people, like they did that Michelle Carter girl, the one that was like texting the boy and he killed himself.
Yeah.
And then they did Brendan Phil Hartman, so
Mhm.
it'll give like lots of backstory, like the fact that Bryn was like getting back into cocaine and got caught with Andy Dick at a party doing it, and then Phil got mad at her and like all the drama beforehand. So like I eat that shit up. That's super fun for me.
Never heard of that. I love good true crime type of stuff, but
Yeah,
it
I love
tends
Andy
to
Dick.
depress me, so I try not to stay away from it as much
You
as
love
I
Andy
can.
Dick? Yeah.
Yeah.
So what about you, Jacob? What's your number 4?
My number 4 is Two Bears, One Cave, hosted by Bert Kreischer and Tom Segura.
Ooh.
Yeah, you guys haven't seen this?
No, I
I
haven't.
know. That sounds amazing already.
Yeah, they basically it's fairly recent, I think, because I mean, before this they were just pretty much guests on other people's podcasts, but they do one themselves now, and it's really cool because it's Tom Segura fucking with Bert Kreischer a whole lot. Like he starts every episode, like they'll talk, and then right when they start the stream, Tom will say something like in response of Bert saying something racist or something like that, and Bert's like, "Wait, did we just start?" And that's really funny. And like while I've been writing this first hour, I've been looking at Tom Segura a lot for tone of voice. Like I've really kind of akin myself to him because my comedy is kind of like his already. And I look at Bert Kreischer in terms of improvement because his newest hour is the only one that I've ever liked. It's the only one I think's ever been good. He's improved
Really?
so much into his 40s. So I don't know. I like those
I'm
guys.
not like super into Bert. Like I haven't watched too much of his, but I love everything Tom Segura's done. Like I enjoy it so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean he's one of the best working comics today, I think.
And also
Agreed.
about my list, there are some podcasts that I actually, some of my favorite all-time podcasts, like for example, Smodcast. I love Kevin Smith. I love Smodcast, but he hasn't done it in a while, and it's very sporadic now. I mean, you'll go, 6 to 9 months without one, and then he'll drop one, and then you won't get another one for a while. So I don't really count those on my list at this point. But even though they're some of my all-time favorites, this is all really just current stuff that I can listen to every week. But my number
Yeah.
4 is it's called Film Sack, and it's from Frog Pants Studios. One of my favorite cartoonists, Scott Johnson, and 3 other guys do it. Basically, they review movies, but they review bad movies. Basically, the tagline is, you know, scurrying the depths of, what does he say? Like, scurrying the depths of Netflix so you don't have to, or something like that. And they basically just do like all the, like, this last week they did Beastmaster, and then they'll do stuff like Crawl and things of that nature, like weird sci-fi movies and things like that. So, and it's really funny, and I really like it. So if you dig like listening to people talk about weird movies and stuff like that, that's a really good one to listen to.
Yeah, reviewing a bad movie, that's a great idea. That's actually sounds hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah. So what about you? What's your number 3, Patty?
Number 3, it's called The Story Must Be Told.
Mm.
And basically it's the premise is every episode starts and ends with it's set up like a church service. And so it's like really weird, it really gets you in the mood and it makes you feel like you're part of this weird cult. It's kind of creepy. And they all like everybody in unison says the story must be told, like they worship the story.
Yeah.
And then it has like some sort of strange fiction, and a lot of it is like dark humor, horror, sci-fi type stuff, like really mind-bending type of stories. It's like Twilight Zone creepy pastas. It's amazing. It'll give you like existential dread out the ass. But the whole premise and the way they set it up is it's wonderful.
Yeah.
It really gets you into that spooky mindset.
That's awesome. I love spooky stuff.
Yeah, I love existential dread out my ass.
I have
I
that
can't
every
say
day.
existential.
It's a
I
way
went
of
to
life.
school.
Yeah.
I went to school in Vancouver.
It's a lifestyle. What about you,
You're the
Jacob?
only
Yeah.
conscious one out there, Jacob.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're all in my dream.
So what,
My number 3
three.
is The King and the Sting,
The King and the
hosted
Sting.
by Theo Vaughn and Brendan Schwab.
Okay. Yeah.
The Rat King and the Bee Sting. That's why they call it The King and the Sting. And it's basically just Theo Vaughn and Brendan Schwab insulting each other and people that send them stuff. Like they'll send them like pictures of their aunt and uncles, and like sometimes like it'll be like a hot aunt, and sometimes it'll be like a really gross person. And I don't know, I just love their dynamic of how they make fun of each other all the time. And it's the only time Brendan Schwab's funny, to be honest. Because I don't know if you guys know who that is, but he was a UFC fighter, and then Joe Rogan told him he should retire on his podcast. It's one of like his most famous clips.
Yeah.
And he did retire, and then he started doing stand-up comedy, and he fucking sucks at it. But he's actually
Weird.
funny on the podcast.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of those things too, is like I really love like comedians like banter. Like that's one of the
Mhm.
best parts, definitely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that back porch roast session.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
For my number 3, something that's quickly becoming one of my favorite podcasts, Fake Doctors, Real Friends with Zach and Donald. It's the Scrubs Rewatch podcast with all the Scrubs people coming by and talking with Zach and Donald Faison and Zach. What's his name? Zach
Braff.
Braff. I can never remember his last name.
Jinx, you owe me a soda.
But I love Scrubs.
Clutchy.
It's one of my favorite all-time TV shows. I've watched it all the way through about 5 times. So listening to them go back and tell stories about each episode and having different guests come on, like they've had, guest stars and the other, main cast, and then the director, the writers are coming by on each episode. So if you have any passing interest in the TV show Scrubs and like behind the scenes stories of the episodes, give it a listen. It's so good.
I'm gonna have to check that out. Okay, my number 2, Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend.
Okay.
And it's the thing that I love about it. I won't listen to like all of the episodes because honestly, I don't want to listen to him talk to Hillary Clinton and Chelsea Clinton, that type of shit. But most of them, what it started out as was, him talking to other comedians, and so you have a lot of really brilliant conversations about and they get like really serious sometimes, and sometimes there's a lot of just riffing and like absolute genius just happening on the podcast naturally. Like Dana Carvey, when he came on there, they actually brought him back for a 6-parter, like 6 half-hour parts, because his characters and it's just amazing. And I didn't even know like he was like that good. Like, so it like really opened my world up a little bit, but a lot of amazing conversations. Yeah.
That's awesome. So
Sounds
what about
pretty
you,
cool,
Jacob?
man.
What's your number 2?
My number 2 is the Joe Rogan Experience.
Yeah.
And it's only number 2 because I think when you're doing a podcast, obviously the hosts are important, but I think it really revolves around what guests you can bring on. And Joe Rogan has the best guests.
Yeah.
Hands down, the best guests. He has fucking Elon Musk coming in.
Well, the only reason
know.
that I didn't put it on my list is I love Joe Rogan, but I only I feel like there's 2 different podcasts. There's the celebrity, comedy side, and then there's the MMA stuff. And I do not listen to any of the MMA shows that he does because I'm just not. It does not interest me in the least.
Yeah, see, that's what I was getting at as to why he's not my number 1. Because I love when he talks to comedians. I love the MMA podcast because I'm a huge MMA nerd. But there's so many different other things too. He'll talk to scientists and pretends he knows what he's talking about. He'll talk to outdoorsmen about hunting elk for 3 hours. Like, no one wants to fucking listen to that. He'll talk about DMT trips and psychedelics like it's science with Alex Jones and Eddie Bravo.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, shut the fuck up. Talk to a comedian. So he's my number 2 because he has the best guests, but he sabotages himself sometimes. Yeah. But it got him $100 million deal, so whatever. What do I know?
Yeah, right.
I can't blame him for that. I would have done it for like a quarter of that.
Yeah.
I would have done it for $2.
Yeah, no shit. Give me $100, I'll sign a deal with Spotify for my soul.
I just need a shed, man. That's all.
Yeah.
Let's see. For my number 2, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this or know the magician Brian Brushwood. He actually does. He's got a YouTube channel called The Modern Rogue, and it's sort of like a MythBusters type of thing. But he's also like a kind of a comedian, magician, and then there's he's got, and it's a podcast called Night Attack, and it's him and another guy called Justin Robert Young, and it is if you like chaos comedy, like it's a great show because that show is just pure chaos, and I laugh every time, every week. They've got different guests come on and things like different kind of internet musicians and things, and the musicians will come on and make like silly songs about the shit that they talk about, and it's just I can't even really describe it. You just have to listen to it to kind of get it, and it's just basically just controlled chaos for an hour and a half a week, and it's called Night Attack.
Sounds like a blast.
It is. Just give it it's not for everybody. Because both of their personalities are just like so like in your face, but man, when they get on a roll with some stuff, it's comedy gold.
Okay.
So what about you, Patty? Which is your number 1 favorite podcast?
Number 1. If you know me and you talk to me at all, I don't stop talking about it. Last podcast on the left.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah, I knew it.
I just I adore them. They're like my muses kind of in a way. Henry Zebrowski specifically because he's the most ridiculous person. He does the characters on there. He does the voices. He's phenomenal. He's an actor and comedian. And then you have Ben Kissel, who is a host on there, and he's a comedian. And then Marcus Parks is like the podcast producer and the researcher. And they've been friends forever. They, I think, met in New York. But so like you have their friendship, and they were podcasting before this, so you already have like this nice dynamic.
Yeah.
And it started off, I think they wanted to do a horror movie podcast, but really what became is about the occult, the paranormal, cults, true crime. They really cover anything that might have like gore or aliens. Those are really fun episodes. And then they do a side stories episode every week too that just Henry and Ben do, where they'll talk about like current up-to-date true crime and stuff.
Yeah.
Which actually, when the Tiger King thing came out, like they've been talking on side stories about that shit for like ever. So I was like, I already know you guys. I mean, y'all are so behind. But they just actually came out with a book too that I'm super excited to read. But I love them so much. If you haven't listened to them, like they're one of the favorite ones out there. And yeah, go for it.
See, I like paranormal type stuff too. And the Night Attack guys still do another podcast called Weird Things. And back in the beginning, it used to be all about like weird stories from around the world, like paranormal and stuff like that. But it's kind of twisted it to where now it's more just really just a science podcast. And I kind of fallen off a little bit from listening to it. So I'm looking for something new to listen to that's all about like paranormal and things like that.
Yeah, and they do cryptids, and they do the hauntings, and they do it all. Like I really, one of my favorites is the Rendlesham episode, because they have like audio footage of these dudes, like they're seeing a UFO and stuff, and it's super creepy, and I'm like, this shit's for real.
That's cool.
I know Jacob's listened to me talk about aliens a lot, and he did not want to.
I'll talk
Yeah,
to you
when
about
me
it.
and Patty
I'm
when me and
fascinated.
Patty first met, she was at the front porch of the juke joint, like being super animated about some shit about aliens. And I walked outside with a drink in my hand. I was just like, spoiler alert, they're not real. And then she started yelling and shit, and I just went back inside and just left
I'm
everyone
like
else with
pointing
that.
at people. I'm like, nah, this shit right here.
All right, Patty. Next time I'll talk to you about aliens for hours. So and we'll just
Hell yes.
let Jacob go eat his cheese fries and drink his Diet Cokes by himself.
Give me a bite though, Jacob.
I wish they had cheese fries. I like cheese fries.
Yeah, cheese fries.
We'll have to bring the cheese.
That sounds good.
We're gonna have to wrap this up so I can get some cheese fries, guys.
So what about you? What's your
Are you
number
going down
one?
there?
No, I just want some fucking cheese fries. All right, my number one is The Fighter and the Kid. It's largely, before the Joe Rogan deal, it was probably largely seen as the most successful podcast in the world. It's hosted by Brian Callen and Brendan Schwab, but Brendan Schwab offers pretty much nothing to it. And it's essentially the dynamic is they bring on almost exclusively comedians because it's hosted by two stand-ups. And they bring on guys like Chris D'Elia, Bobby Lee, Andrew Santino, guys like that. And Will Sasso is a big one.
Oh, I love Will
And
Sasso.
they'll like do these like unrehearsed kind of bits almost, where it's like a confrontation between Brian and the guest, where they'll just like, I guess that's just how they fuck around. Where Brian will say like, "Hey, you're being disrespectful," and then they're just like fuck with Brian Callen the entire episode. And you should really look up some of the funniest clips of theirs. Like, it's some of the best podcast comedy that's out there.
Yeah. For my number one, I don't know if Patty, you're like me, where you listen to a lot of podcasts, and I listen to them every day because my job really it requires me to listen to podcasts. Because if I don't, I will go nuts in the warehouse by myself. So I listen to podcasts.
I bake in the middle of the night, so I listen to them like all night long.
So I like to listen to stuff that is very frequent and lots of content. So if you're into daily podcasts, there's one I listen to also from the Frog Pants Network that does Film Sack. He does one every day, Monday through Thursday, and then if you're a Patreon supporter, of at least $1, you get an extra episode on Fridays, and it's called The Morning Stream. And basically, it's just kind of like a morning show where, you know, they cover news, they do trivia, you know, they have song breaks, they have different guests come on every week, and it's a really cool kind of. I've always loved radio. I've always loved like radio shows, and it's a podcast, but it's built more like a radio show, you know, where there's different segments and things like that. So if you're looking for something with a lot of content, and so they're up to almost 2,000 episodes at this point, and so yeah, they do it almost every weekday. So if you're really into just really good content, and you know they're really funny, informative, they do a lot of cool trivia and things like that. So I've actually won some stuff on their trivia during the show. I won some Steam games a few weeks ago because I actually got through when they did the trivia segment. I called them while they were live, and so that was awesome. And yeah, go check out.
That must have been a great feeling.
Yeah. So,
how many times do we enter sweepstakes and just never get anything, you know?
But go check them out. It's called The Morning Streamer. Just go to just check out frogpants.com, or just type in Frog Pants in your podcatcher, and he actually has one that's he does like 10 different podcasts, and he has one feed that he puts all the podcasts into. So if you're on your podcatcher, if you just put in the Frog Pants Ultra feed, you get every single podcast he does on that one single feed.
Okay, dope.
But it's really
now
good.
I know you have another podcast, don't you, Jason?
Yes.
Yeah, I've only listened to one episode, and that's because you guys talked about Jason Waterfalls on it.
I watched that one too. That's when I started watching, was to hear the Jason Waterfalls story.
I tried to listen to more, but I was like, this isn't really my area.
That was
yeah.
What a weird dude, man. Like,
what
the
a strange person.
You're just saying that because he's not famous yet.
But he is the best comedian in LA or otherwise.
Oh, God.
That's true. The best comedic talent.
But he works at the Waffle House, and where do you live? Like, what Waffle House does he work at? Like Escatawpa?
Yeah, yeah. If you guys want to go see Jason Waterfalls, he works at the Waffle.
Don't dox him. We'll get in serious trouble on Twitch if we dox him. That dude.
Yeah, I know.
And if you just say Waffle House, you'll never find it, because there's a Waffle House like every 10 freaking feet in Mississippi. Like, you can give give directions according to Waffle House. Be like, go down to the third Waffle House, take a right. After the second Dollar General, take a left, and then take another right at the Walmart, and you'll be there.
Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you the Waffle House that I blindly, luckily found him at. If you go looking for this guy, you're not gonna find him. This is the most random fucking Waffle House he works at. I swear to you. You can go to as many Waffle Houses as you want. Unless you're the luckiest fucker in the world like I am, you're not going to find them.
I don't get it. But he hasn't shown up since, like, at least until the pandemic. Maybe during the pandemic, he's been going around looking for open mics, and, you know.
I doubt it, because I went to his work. That fucker.
I hope he'll be back. I mean, that's all I wanted. When I saw him walk into the juke joint that night, I was like, oh my God, Jacob is about to tear this man a new one. This is going to be amazing. And
that's true.
He couldn't last long enough. He couldn't make it till you got on stage.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he showed up and started shit during someone's set. So immediately I went up to Krangus and I was like, hey, bro, put me on next. And he's like, yeah, sure, I got you. And he couldn't wait to get kicked out of the bar to try to start a fight with someone.
Well, you started begging me. Like, we were sitting on the couch together, and you were, like, elbowing me. You're like, he's here. He's here. And I looked around, and I was like, oh, shit, he is here. And you were like, you're going up next, aren't you? I was like, yeah. He's like, can I please go? Please, please, please. You were like a little kid on Christmas. You were like, please let me go next. I want to roast the shit out of him. I was like, dude, go ask Krangus. I don't care. And he didn't last 30 seconds. He walked in the door, got a drink, and immediately started shit with Jimmy James. And then, like, Krangus jumped up, and then me and Jacob jumped up, and the dude, like, he like gets down in the squat position. He's just like putting his dukes up like 30 style boxing. He's just like, come on, boys. I'm like, what are you doing,
He's like,
dude?
none of you are funny anyway.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was the weirdest night ever. I was like, why would you do
It was
that? Like,
beautiful.
what kind of personality like does that? Like, you just effectively killed your comedy career in this area because nobody is going to book you or put you up on an open mic. No one in this area is going to do it
Yeah.
anymore.
What's funny is he probably didn't realize it because it was a pretty light room, and it was all comedians.
But it was,
It was
and-
only like the same handful of people that had already seen him make an ass out of himself at the Kraken.
But the thing is, everyone who produces shows on the Mississippi Gulf Coast was in that room, and he
Yeah,
tried
that's
to
true.
fist fight all of them. You're not
Idiot.
going up anymore, buddy.
So those of you out there listening right now, if you're listening to this podcast because you're interested in comedy and you want to know how to get into the open mic scene, the last thing you want to do is try to get into a bar fight with every single open mic host in the area.
Every one of them.
Every single
Everyone
one.
except Wally was in the room, and you told
Yeah.
Wally about it, and he was like, well, if he tried to fight Jason, he practically tried to fight me, so I'm not letting him
I was
up
gonna
either.
say, if Jason's there, Wally's there in spirit automatically.
Yeah.
Pretty
Oh,
much,
man.
yeah.
That was so like it was so after the Wayward Kraken, just watching him dismantle his comedy career at the Juke Joint was the most satisfying thing I've ever experienced in my life, because the dude at the Kraken started roasting me. Like, he went up after me because I was one of the older comedians, of course, and it's like, well, you go up first. I'm like, okay, I'll go up first. I hate it, but I know I'll do it because there's some new people here. And so I went up first. You know, nobody's in the room. Everybody's outside smoking, of course. There's like 3 people in the room. And of course, one of them is Jason Waterfalls. He gets up. Everybody starts to come in at this point, and he starts roasting me for being awful. And I'm like, motherfucker, there was like you and the bartender in here. Like, really?
It wasn't even like an actual roast. It was like, you smell bad or some
Yeah, he
shit.
said
It was
something
something,
about-
awful
Well,
a 5-year-old
I
would
know,
say.
I remember exactly what he
What
said.
did he
Close
say?
your
He said-
mouth or something like that.
Yeah, it's like every time that guy's mouth opens, it smells like shit in here.
Yeah,
Get
what
a
the fuck?
cheeseburger.
Awful.
And I was like, and I looked around the room and I'm like, is he roasting me right now? Like, do you know you've, like, the next time I see you, I'm going to just rip your soul out of your asshole? Really? Don't come up. I almost won the roast battle. You do not want to go against me.
I put on the roast battle, motherfucker. Try me, bitch.
Oh,
I
my God.
organized it.
Oh, shit. That was...
I'll do another one and invite you.
Dude, I'm gonna say this right now. I am willing to let Jason Waterfalls come on this podcast. I will put out the call right now.
I've thought about that.
That's a
I've
good
thought
idea.
about that just because.
Just because. Just let it, if he wants to come on this podcast and explain himself, I will let him come on this show. But the minute he starts to roast me or say anything to me about any of that shit, me and Jacob are going to just destroy that dude's will to live. I am not going to
Just
hold
do
back.
it anyway. Just wait.
Yeah.
Because
So-
when we all roast one another, it's done out of love. Like, I love
That's
you
true.
guys and I will roast you to death, but it's done with love. Like, when we did the roast battle, like, everybody that I went up against, like, I love these people. That's why I could do it and felt comfortable doing it. If I don't know you and you're going to come into my bar, where I was one of the very first comedians there, as well as Jacob, doing the open mics, we're well known there at this point. People come there to see us, and you're going to roast me. No, this is not going to happen. I'm sorry. So if you're watching Jason Waterfalls, and I know you're not, but if someone knows him and he wants to come on this show, I'm putting the call out right now. If he wants to man up and grab his balls and say, I want to go on the show and show that I'm really funny, you can come right on here. I will have him. He can come on. Just let me know. Message me on Facebook.
Yeah.
Someone will have to tell him because I'm sure he does not listen to podcasts or.
I'm sure he doesn't listen
Yeah,
to anything.
He blocked me on Facebook, which is weird because I had found him at one point and was like Facebook stalking him, and then I guess I may have made a bunch of memes about him that kind of destroyed his entire.
There might have been a handful or two of memes.
Yeah, that really just teared his asshole apart. And then he blocked me on Facebook. But if anyone knows Jason Waterfalls, please get this to him. Tell him to come on our podcast.
Yeah. If he wants to come on and
We'll-
redeem himself, let's do it. I'm
We'll
100%
talk about it.
The what?
We'll talk about it.
Yeah, we'll
It's
do
very
it.
diplomatic of you guys.
Yep. So Patty, thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been awesome.
Thanks for having me.
So, where can
Yeah.
everybody find you on the internets?
I mean, I have a Facebook, of course, Patty Dwyer. I have an Instagram that is Pat_star1990. And I should get a Twitter or start using it again, but
Yeah, you
I don't know.
should.
I'm not using that right now. So that's all I got.
Fantastic. So, Jacob,
Come see me at the Juke Joint at
Yes.
the open mics, though, once they
Yes.
start back, June 2nd, every Tuesday.
Yeah. I think all three of us will be there, I think.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
So, Jacob, anything you want to throw out there before we leave tonight?
Yes, thank you, Patty. I love you, darling. In another dimension, we would be together and have beautiful black-headed babies that all look like Gerard Way got hit by a hammer. And
I agree.
happy 69th birthday to Jason. That's why we're
Woo!
doing this on a Tuesday.
Yeah, I forgot
Oh,
my
yeah,
birthday.
happy birthday.
Thank you. I forgot
Happy
it was
birthday.
Thursday. I was just like, what day is my birthday? I looked, it was Thursday. I was like, oh, we better change it because I might be
ridiculous,
doing something.
man.
I don't know.
It's all right. We'll celebrate at the Juke.
Yeah, we will. So I think that's going to bring us to the end. So if you would like to email us, we're at openmicerspodcast@gmail.com. We are also on Twitter at openmicers, and we're also available now on iTunes, Overcast, wherever you can find podcasts for free. And also we're going to be on Spotify
Anywhere.
very soon. If you want to listen to us
Real
on
soon.
Spotify, we'll let you know when that happens. So we'll see you next week.
Bye, I love you.
Bye, I love you guys.
Hold on. I had to bring my mic back up. All right. So that was the show, guys. I'm going to go ahead and stop the stream. So thank you guys for watching us on Twitch and everybody that's going to
Bye,
watch
Rampage.
on YouTube. And we will see you guys. Yes, thanks, Rampage, for joining us. And we'll see you guys next week on next Thursday. Not this Thursday, next Thursday. So we'll see you guys later. Bye.